morning, dear hearts. We are on lesson 71. Please subscribe. And today's lesson is only God's plan for salvation will work. Perfect follow-up from yesterday's lesson that my salvation comes from me. Now, does that seem to be conflicting each lesson? My salvation comes from me, but only God's plan for salvation will work. Well, God provides the plan, and it's up to us to accept it. So when I accept it, then yes, the salvation, my happiness will come from me, but it's coming because I have chosen, not been forced, but chosen to follow the plan that God has for all of his children in order for them to find their happiness and their freedom, as we have substituted that word salvation. Certainly happiness works for today's lesson. Now, the lesson tells us that there's two plans. There's two, and one is totally preposterous, but just because it is preposterous, it sounds preposterous, but that doesn't mean that we have not chosen very often to follow it. It is the ego's plan, and perhaps we will realize that however preposterous it may be, we do believe in it. The ego's plan for our salvation, which really doesn't want us to find anyway, but the ego's plan for salvation centers around holding a grievance, building that grief fence even higher and higher, because his plan, the ego's plan, maybe it shouldn't be a he, the ego's plan maintains that if someone else spoke or acted differently, or some external circumstance or event were changed, you would be saved. You would be happy. However, we can go back immediately to the wonderful lines in yesterday's lesson that it means that accepting where salvation really comes from means that nothing outside yourself can save you, nothing outside yourself can give you peace, and it also means nothing outside yourself can hurt you or disturb your peace or upset you in any way. I think I just wanted the opportunity to go back to those lines because they're favorites. So, coming from the ego point of view, if he did something different, if she did something different, if that hadn't happened, or if that had happened differently, then I would be happy. But because all of these external situations occurred, I'm not. So it's not up to me to do any changing. It is up to, oh, there's those pronouns again, them, to do something differently, because it is them. No, no, dear heart. It is me. The only one that can change my thoughts is me. And there is nothing outside myself that will bring me peace or give me happiness. So the sooner that we become aware of this, we have this awareness that it's not anything out there. It's all, as I keep saying, it's an inside job. Then I can begin to understand where my happiness comes from, and I can choose to not follow the ego's plan. Paragraph 2 for today's lesson says, each grievance you hold is a declaration and an assertion in which you believe that says, if this were different, I would be saved. The change of mind necessary for salvation is thus demanded, our change for our happiness is demanded of everyone and everything but yourself. This paragraph really does flow back into lesson 11, that my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world, because that's what this world will be maintained as truly being meaningless and never happy. Now, the role assigned to your own mind in this plan then is simply to determine what other than itself must change if you are to be saved. This is an insane plan. It is fruitless, and every time we go, well, if that happens, I'll be happy. If that happens, I'll be happy. And the ego wants us to keep saying those things. The ego wants us to shift ceaselessly and look ceaselessly out there for something else to change. This ensures that the fruitless search will continue, for the illusion persists that although this hope has always failed, the ego's plan has always failed, there's still another hope that maybe this time it will be different. There's a Broadway song, I think, maybe this time. Anyway, another person will serve better, the next person in, the next job, the next situation, the next trinket, all of those things will change my fortunes. The ego's mantra, seek but do not find, never find. The ego has no investment in us finding our happiness, our joy, our peace. So now there is another plan, and it is God's. And God's plan for salvation works simply because by following his direction, you seek for salvation where it is. But if you are to succeed, as God promises that we will, you must be willing to seek there only. Otherwise, your purpose is divided and you will attempt to follow two plans. There's only one that works, and they are diametrically opposed in all ways. This is another way of saying we cannot serve two masters. If we try to, the result will be confusion, misery, and a deep sense of failure and despair. We must come to the awareness and the decision, our decision, which comes from our willingness, that only God's plan as he has laid it out for us will be the one that will finally bring us the happiness that he wants us to have. Remember, God's plan for his children is total peace, total joy, total happiness. So we have, I just want to go in paragraph 7. It tells us, let us practice recognizing this certainty today, and let us rejoice that there is an answer to what seems to be a conflict with no resolution possible. I love this line. I say it often. All things are possible to God. All things are possible with God. All things are possible through God. God, with God, all things are possible. Salvation must be ours because of his plan, which cannot fail. So God's plan for our salvation will work and other plans will not. We get to accept that. As long as we accept the first part, that God's plan will work, then we have no problem in accepting the second part, that no other plan will. God's plan will succeed, and it will lead us to release from the imprisonment of all of our grief fences, and it will lead us to joy. Now, our practicing, the 2 sessions, 10 to 15 minutes each day, begin in the morning. Now, there are 3 questions that are to be incorporated into the practice. And we ask the questions and then we wait for the answer. And it tells us that he will answer in proportion to your willingness to hear his voice. But God's voice speaks to me all through the day. And refuse not to hear, which really is just another way to say, listen, listen. The very fact that you are doing the exercises proves that you have some willingness to listen. The questions. And I say to use these questions throughout, not just for the practice today. These are really good questions to have within our spiritual tool belt. These are really good questions to go to on a regular basis with any situation that seems to arise that causes us some conflict or distraction. And we ask, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? And what would you have me say, and to whom? Those questions, they're good to start your day and allow the Holy Spirit and God to guide you through the day. And again, if anything comes up in any day, at any time, get quiet and ask those questions. You will hear the answer if you are willing to. The practicing for each hour 6 to 7 times, and in those practicing we should ask, there's another couple of lines here, holding grievances is the opposite of God's plan for salvation, and only his plan will work. So anything that comes up that is disturbing, and even if it isn't, just to keep saying these lines, we're forming these pathways in our mind so that we will willingly, happily accept a new thought system, a new way of being in this world. So, and I have another little thing that I have said, that to tell yourself that I will not be an ego pleaser today. We very often are people pleasers, but I will not follow the ego's plan for my salvation, which won't work. So I will not be an ego pleaser today. And that's all, I think. I hope it helped. Please like, please share, please subscribe, please comment, please smile for all of the progress that you are making, we are making together. And remember, there is a place where we can seek, and indeed we will find. Smile, breathe that in, release everything that is in conflict to it, and let us all follow God's plan today. Namaste.